Yes, we have heard of the greatness of the Spear Danes, high kings in days long past. How those nobles practiced bravery. Often skilled, son of Skef expelled opponents' hosts. Many peoples from mead seats made men fear him after he was first discovered destitute. He lived to see remedy for that. Grew up under the heavens, prospered in marks of distinction, until every neighbor across the Whale Road had to answer to him, pay tribute. That was a good king. A son was born in succession to him, a young one among Mainers, whom God sent as a comfort to his people. He had perceived their dire need, what they had suffered lordless for a great while. For that, the Lord of Life, wielder of glory, granted them that worldly favor. Beowulf was renowned, his fame sprang wide, the heir of Skilled in Scania. So ought a young man to ensure by his liberality, by ready largesse, while in his father's care, that close companions will in turn stand by him in his later years. His men be true when war comes. From praiseworthy deeds comes success in every nation. Then at the appointed time, Sild, very elderly, set out to pass into the keeping of the Lord. They bore him then to the ocean's shore, his close confederates, as he himself had requested while he had command of words. The friend of the Sildings, beloved leader of that race, had long owned. It stood there in the harbor, a ring-proud one, icy and set to depart, a prince's vessel. Then they laid their well-loved lord, disperser of rings, in the ship's bosom, the renowned man by the mast. A trove of treasures and trappings was brought there from far ways. I have never heard of a ferry more finely decked with war weapons and battle garments, blades and chainmail. In his lap lay a mass of riches which were to go far with him into the possession of the flood. They equipped him with offerings, treasures of the community by no means humbler than the ones they had provided who sent him forth at the start, alone over the wave in his infancy. And now they raised high over his head a golden standard. Let the sea take him, gave him over to the deep. Their spirits were brooding, their mood full of mourning. No one can say for a fact. Counselors in halls, heroes under heaven, who received that cargo. Then among the strongholds, Beowulf of the Sildings, beloved king of that folk, was celebrated by peoples for long years. His father had passed elsewhere, that elder from the earth, until to him in turn high Helfdene awoke. He held sway as long as he lived, old and battle-fierce, over the gracious Sildings. To him 4 children in sum awoke in the world, to that leader of armies, Hrothgar and Hrothgar and Halga the Good. I've heard that was Onela's queen, cherished bedfellow, the war Sylfing. Then to Hrothgar was given war success, distinction in battle, so that his friends and kinsmen were willingly ruled by him, until the cadre of new recruits grew to a large force of young men. It became fixed in his mind that he would direct men to construct a hall structure, a mead mansion, larger than the offspring of the ancients had ever heard of. And there inside he would hand over to young and old all such as God had granted him, aside from the state itself and human lives. Then I have heard the work was imposed far and wide on many a folk throughout this middle earth, the public place furnished. By and by it came to pass for them, not long among humankind, that it was all finished. The greatest of all houses, he whose word had wide authority, crafted for it the name Heorot. He did not neglect his promise. He distributed rings of fortune at feast. The hall towered tall and wide-gabled. It awaited battle surge's dreaded flame. It was sooner yet that the blade hostility should be roused for father and son-in-law after deadly violence. Then the powerful demon endured the time with effort. He who waited in the shadows, that every day he heard noisy pleasures in the hall. There was the music of the harp, the clear song of the performer. He who could reckon the origins of mortals from distant times said that the Almighty created the earths, a resplendent world as far as contained by water, positioned triumphant sun and moon, lamps as illumination to landsmen, and embellished the surface of the earth with branches and leaves, likewise generated life in all the species that actively move about. Thus the troopmen lived agreeably at ease until a certain one began to perpetrate crimes, a hellish foe. The unyielding demon was named Grendel, a well-known wanderer in the wastes who ruled the heath, fen, and fastnesses. The ill-starred man had occupied for some time the habitat of monstrosities after the Creator had cursed him among the race of Cain. The eternal Lord was avenging the murder after he killed Abel. He derived no satisfaction from that feud, but Providence banished him far away from humankind on account of that crime. Thence awoke all deformed races, ogres and elves and lumbering brutes, likewise giants, who struggled against God for a long while. He gave them their deserts for that. He set out then, after night fell, to examine the tall building, how the ring-danes had settled in after the drinking. Rounds. He found therein a band of nobles sleeping after the feast. They knew no cares, no human misfortune. The creature of malignity, unyielding and rapacious, was ready at once, fierce and savage, and seized where they lay 30 men of the court. From there he set out again, exulting in the spoils, to go home, to visit his territory with his fill of the slaughtered. Then, in the early hours before dawn, Grendel's warfare was revealed to all. Then, after feasting, wailing was lifted up, a loud mourning song. The renowned lord, a prince good since old times, sat distraught. The mighty one suffered, endured misery over his men. After they observed the track of the despised one, the accursed demon. That affliction was too strong, repellent, and enduring. There was little delay, but after a single night he committed more murders, feuding, and crimes, and showed no remorse. He was too intent on it. Then there was no dearth of those who found themselves sleeping quarters elsewhere, farther away, a bed among the private chambers, when the hall thane's malice was demonstrated to them, truly expressed by clear signs. Whoever escaped the fiend lodged themselves farther away and more securely after that. Thus he reigned and made war on justice, alone against all, until the finest of buildings stood idle. The period was long, for the space of 12 winters.